Hey, welcome to the, this is the 22nd episode of the JOURNEYS Webcast. So I want to thank all of you for tuning in. I'm so excited about, as I am with all of my guests, but having Scott on here is, we're going to have a great conversation. If you don't know or just know a little bit about Baja, man, you're in for a treat because there are things going on down there that will kind of blow you away. Mexico is not the Mexico your grandfather's Mexico. Anyway, a couple things, just a bit of a business. We've got a chat room over there. So in the sidebar, Wolfgang he sent me a private. You're able to send me a private message, but you can let us know where you're coming in from, who you are. And then if you have a question for either Scott or I, down below where you'll type your comment where it says send to everybody, you can change where it says chat mode to Q&A mode. And what that'll do is actually put a little flag for us so we'll know that you've got a question, make sure that we get to it. The other thing at the top of your screen is if you ever have a problem where we're freezing, and the audio gets glitchy, you can click that. I think it says reconnect. If you click that, it'll ask you if for sure you want to reconnect, and it'll reestablish your connection and clear up that frozen part. So that's that. There's also some polls in the corner. I can see people are already answering if this is their first webcast. 33% are tuning in. So welcome. Thank you. This is the 22nd one. I started this as a whim back in April. First time in 5 or 6 years that I haven't taken many months off in the summer and fall to travel. And I thought the only way I could cure my cabin fever and in this crazy lockdown era, that I'd reach out to people that I've met all over the world in so many different countries. I think we've had 13 different guests from 13 different countries, from Iceland to Uganda. Those all are available for a replay on our YouTube channel. So if you haven't subscribed, there's a link at the top of the chat column. Please do that. Show some love. It really means something. And check out some of the other webcasts. Last week, we had legendary rock star Al Stewart, the famous of Year of the Cat and Time Passages fame. And it was a great conversation. It went a lot longer. I was so happy that he decided to stick around there. So another thing, I just wanted to give everybody a couple updates. If you haven't been on here before, and for those of you who have been watching all these webcasts, you know that in mid-June, I got hit with this bout of vertigo, and I didn't know what was going on. I actually got taken to the hospital, spent a night there, and ever since then, I've been living in this fog, kind of like I've got a perennial hangover or mild buzz. It's just this lightheadedness, not so much anymore spinning. And I've been going to a physical therapy. They call it vestibular physical therapy. And what that is that, in your ear, you've got 3 canals and then a vestibular nerve on each side. And there's been a little bit of damage on the one on my right side. So that's causing this kind of wacky feeling I'm getting. And it's been kind of depressing and debilitating and certainly, not fun. In the last couple days, though, I've had these little hints of something seems changing. So I'm hopeful. I'm very positive. For those of you guys know me, that I don't let anything get me down. I broke my leg in the middle of nowhere in Bolivia riding that motorcycle. I mean, you can recover from that. You should be able to recover from some little ear thing. So anyway, it seems something's happening. I'm still not right. I won't get on that motorcycle because it's all about equilibrium and balance. Though I have been riding a bicycle, and I'm hoping this can be part of my therapy to just kind of get used to being on 2 wheels. So I'm enjoying that. Take sunset afternoon rides down here to the beach here in San Diego. So that's the vestibular vertigo update. The other 2 things I wanted to mention, one serious, one not so serious, and that is today in California, it's the last day. If you're tuning in from California, it's the last day that you can register to vote for this upcoming election, and you know how important that is. So if you're not from California, I'm going to put up in that offer column. There's a great website put up by Stephen Colbert and the people over at the Late Show that will give you exactly what the timeline are, how long early voting goes on, where the polls are. You get tons of information. If you haven't registered yet, it'll tell you the dates that the deadlines are for registration. So check that out. You could click that link in the offer column right now. And for those of you tuning in on YouTube, by the way, and watching this on a replay, all the links that I might mention during this webcast will be down below in the description area. So this link will be down there, as well as links about Scott and anything we might talk about today. So check that out. If you click that, doing that. And then the other thing, I want to say, actually, there's two more things. I read an article today in this great news source, a real news source, not a fake news source, called Axios. And there was an article about analysis of one of their reporter journalists about the shipping capacity of our major shippers, like the post office, like FedEx, and like UPS. And we've got holiday seasons coming up, and this will be our first holiday season under this crazy COVID corona craziness. And they're saying that even right now, the shipping companies are near at capacity. So whereas if you've depended on using last minute, like I do, shipping of gifts using these things, it's going to take a bit longer this year. And they're calling it Shipageddon, that you got to be careful. This could be Shipageddon. If you want your gifts to arrive before the holidays, think about that. And then the next thing is, and going back to that offer column, I'm going to take that one off. Those of you who do know me a little bit, not only do I ride around the world on the motorcycle and go do crazy things, I've done a TV show, which Scott's been on. I also write and do inspirational speaking. So I last week published an article on Medium, and I think it's apropos for especially these times. It's called 13 Rules for Life from a Life on the Road. There's nothing earth-breaking here, but there are good things to be reminded of. So in that offer column, if you click that, bookmark that, watch that after the webcast, after we're done with Scotty, and check it out. I've been getting some really great feedback on Medium and through posted it on my Facebook pages, and a lot of people have been sharing it. So if you like it, please do share it. It's kind of cool. There. So without that seems to be about the business, but I want to now talk about Baja California and my guest. This guy, Scott Koenig, is a legend. He's traveled there for 20 years, and he's seen it from when it was a back roads, a niche kind of destination to now becoming an internationally recognized top destination with Michelin-starred restaurants, 5-star resorts, and still crazy. So we're going to talk about fish tacos, tequila, street food on top of those Michelin stars, and wine country cuisine. But so Scott's explored, as I said, the main streets and back roads of Mexico and Baja. He's the founder and editor of the popular website and blog, A Gringo in Mexico. And I'm going to put that up in a bit too. You guys can check it out. This Gringo in Mexico reports on Mexican travel destinations, not just Baja, but all over Mexico. It talks about food, culture, adventure, and of course, those people. Considered an influencer in Baja California and San Diego. Yeah, he's a neighbor of mine. Scott's A Gringo in Mexico, and its affiliated social channels are thousands and thousands of views and shares weekly. So you definitely want to check it out and follow him. He's also the author of this, 7 Days in the Valle. It's a Baja California's wine country cuisine. It's a full color book. It profiles 7-star chefs and their restaurants, along with Baja California's burgeoning wine route through the Valle de Guadalupe. He writes about Mexico, food, wine, adventure for dining out, San Diego, SanDiegoRed.com, and DiscoverBaja.com. And he's been published all over in online and in print. He's also the food expert for Baja California for ExtremeFoodies.tv. That used to be known, for you guys might remember, Foodie Hub. It's an international culinary site curated by over 275 experts worldwide. Not only does Scott share the treasures he discovers online, get this, he also organizes and guides public and private unique culinary tours of Baja California. Leading television producers like the Food Channel, BBC, KPBS, and even the CIA. No, that's not what you're thinking. It's the Culinary Institute of America. Turn to Scott for helping in fixing and organizing those video productions. And Scott also appeared, and this is a little treat you guys are going to have today, in my television show pilot, Food Explorer, for Scripps Network's travel and cooking channels. And we're going to show a clip of that. So if you never got to see that, I've got that for you. He also is a creative marketing and graphic designer specialist. He is the principal of Koenig Creative. It's San Diego-based marketing, creative, and graphic design term. Come on, turn on your microphone, Scott. Get into the room. I want to see you. People are tired of seeing me. There we go. Turn on your microphone.
All right.
There he is. Hey, welcome to Journeys.
Hey, thanks for having me, Alan. I'm excited to be here today.
This is very exciting for me, and I haven't seen you in well over a year. I saw you when this just came out. And how's this doing?
That's right. It's doing okay. I think that it's kind of a niche book. The initial sales were very good, and then they peaked, and now it's kind of plateaued. But it's doing pretty well. People buy it on Amazon. They purchase it over my website. You can actually go to 7daysinthevalle.com, and I will, if you're in the U.S., domestic U.S., I will sign it and ship it to you directly myself. Or if you're in Mexico or anywhere else in the world, you can order it on Amazon. So it's doing fairly well. It was a fun book to write. It was an even more fun book to research. Very good research, I must say. And it was my first book, so that kind of entered the fray with that one.
Yeah. Hey, we're going to be talking a lot about Baja, and I always like to say, Baja's beyond tacos and tequila and chips and salsa and these kinds of things. Of course, there are great tequilas and tacos for sure, but it's so much more. And one of the things, as people of the fans of the show know, and those who know me, how much I love wine, and the wine scene in Baja is absolutely off the charts now. And I know you've got a special bottle, and I've got one here. Mm-hmm. So let's open these up and have a toast before we get into the depth of Baja. What do you think?
Let's do it, Alan.
And while you do it, tell us about the wine that you've got.
It's 5 o'clock somewhere, right?
That's right.
It's 3 o'clock here, but whatever.
Yeah, that's right.
I have a bottle of Cavas Valmar. It's a mix, or a tinto mezcla, which is a mix and or a blend of 4 different wines: Nebbiolo, Cabernet Sauvignon, Merlot, and I believe Syrah. So it's 25% of each of those, and blends are very endemic to Baja California wine country, the Valle de Guadalupe, as well as the other 4 wine producing valleys in Baja California. They don't come from a very long tradition of at least modern winemaking, so there are not a lot of rules in the Valle de Guadalupe. So a lot of the enologists and the winemakers there get really creative, and they mix all these different grapes together. And you find a lot of really, really good blends in Baja California, which is something you don't find in regions like, Bordeaux, or some of the more traditional winemaking regions of the world, where they've had, centuries of tradition there, and they have kind of set rules of how they produce their wine. In Baja, it's kind of the Wild West, if you will, of winemaking. So I'm enjoying this Cavas Valmar mix. It's a blend. And my friend Coral Strong from our local restaurant here in La Mesa, which is in East San Diego, Garden Kitchen, was kind enough to gift me with this bottle of Cavas Valmar red blend last night. So I kind of put out a call at the last minute. I wanted to have a bottle of wine for the show. Coral hooked me up. She gets her wines through LMA Wines. They're based here in San Diego. And the owner is Michelle Martin, and her father actually worked with Cavas Valmar. They kind of founded the label in the early 80s, and it was one of the first boutique wines in the Valle de Guadalupe. And Michelle is responsible for introducing San Diego and a lot of Southern California to the wines of Baja California. She's been doing it for 15 years now, so she knows her wine. And this is the one that she and my friend Coral, the restaurant owner, thought that I should be sampling today. So.
Excellent. LMA of where are they in La Mesa as well?
They're in San Diego.
They're in San Diego. Great. Big shout out to
Ensenada.
Yeah, it's good. So I'll tell you a little bit. We won't bore people too much with the wine talk, but get a glass going, Scott, and I'll tell you what I've got, which is, as you said, it is a bit of the Wild West. I love this. This is from Bruma. Which is one of the newer wineries actually in the area, and it's called Ocho, and which is 8, of course. And you can kind of see the graphic on there with the little 8 there, Ocho. But I love the name of the wine. It's called Blanc de Noir. Now, if you guys know a little Spanish, you know that is white of black. And the reason it's called Blanc de Noir is because this wine is actually made from red grapes, although look at it, it's white. It's made from some old vine Carignan. Carignan is the name of the grape. That's the varietal. And Carignan is famously from the southern part of Rhone region in France, Châteauneuf-du-Pape, and even in a little bit into the northern Rhone as well. They'll use that. So that's what happens in winemaking. For those of you who know, the color of the wine, red wine, comes from the skin of the grape. So white wine has no color; it's transparent, or sometimes it gets a little yellow and that. And to make a wine with from a red grape and make it look white, you just can't have any contact with the skin. So. Anyway, so this is a Blanc de Noir, Carignan from, and the winemaker, a woman, Lulu, and I don't remember her last name. You know, Scott?
Yeah, Lourdes Ojeda Martinez.
Yeah, that's why I wouldn't remember. It's a long one. And she makes wines for other people as well, but she's one of the right, wouldn't you say, top winemakers in the Valle?
You know, she is. And she started out with, in the Valle, with Henri Lurton, which is a Bordeaux winemaker that have been around for 100 years in France. And the owner wanted to start I guess, a new world winemaking operation. So he kind of searched South America. They went to Spain. They went to different places all over Europe. He was looking for a certain terroir that was very rich in minerality. So Lulu was working with him at the time in Bordeaux. And after they ran out of places and he just couldn't find a place where he really wanted to do wine, she said, well, hey, how about my hometown of Ensenada? There's a very rich winemaking countryside right outside of Ensenada, the Valle de Guadalupe. So I think it was maybe 4 years ago, Henri Lurton, they came to Ensenada. They loved the terroir. And they started producing wines here. So she really brought a Bordeaux, 100-year-old French Bordeaux winemaker to Baja California, which is pretty impressive. And that's not unusual to see. You have Italians making wine in the Valle de Guadalupe. You've got French making wine in the Valle. Of course, you have Ensenadense, the people who are from families from Ensenada who are producing wine. So there's really you've got Americans. People from the U.S. there producing wine. So it's really a very eclectic international mix of winemakers in the Valle de Guadalupe. And as I said earlier, they get crazy with their wines. They blend and try different things, and the results are pretty good.
Yeah. Let's toast to a Gringo in Mexico, and to Baja, and to Mexico. Cheers,
and
man.
To you, Allan.
Thank you. You know, the reason you had to reach out to get a bottle of wine is because you haven't been able to travel to Baja. I mean, here you are. You are a Gringo in Mexico. You are the Gringo in Mexico. You know, for 20 years you've been traveling that region, but you must feel like you've got shackles or a ball and chain of COVID. Is that ball of chain? You know, otherwise you take trips down there several times a month. I know, and you have so many great friends down there. And you know, as we know, you've become quite the expert. How does it feel being locked in San Diego and not, going to Baja like you love to do.
Yeah, well, I'm suffering in San Diego, right? It could be worse. I could be suffering in my hometown of Dayton, Ohio, where winter is just about upon them. So it could be worse than being stuck in San Diego. But certainly, I miss the great food. I miss the scenery. I miss the wine. I miss the craft brew scene, which is very big in Mexicali, as well as Ensenada and Tijuana, where it really started in Baja. And most of all, I miss the friends. I miss my people down there. I'm in touch with everyone on Facebook, but it's not the same as sharing a good bottle of wine and a little bit of sobremesa after a languid 3-hour dinner. Of local ingredients by some of the best chefs in Mexico. So it's been a tough adjustment. I miss everything, but I've also taken the opportunity to explore the restaurants here in San Diego a little bit. I posted on my Facebook page the other day. It's funny that a year ago I was telling people where to eat in Baja, and now I'm asking people where to eat in my hometown of San Diego. Just because I've always eaten out in Baja. Like you said, we'd go down there 2 or 3 times a month. Everything from 5-star alfresco dining in the Valle de Guadalupe to enjoying street tacos in Tijuana, and that just suddenly stopped. I do have friends and people from fellow gringos from the U.S. who are going back now, but technically the border is closed to any kind of travel that's not necessary. And tourism and eating really great food and writing about it apparently is probably not necessary. So, but yeah, we hope to get back down again once the numbers get better here and there.
I'm looking at a poll we just put up. If you haven't seen it right now, what parts of Baja have you traveled? I put up, and so far we've got 3/4 of, or 2/3 rather, of the people have been to Cabo, and actually 1/3 of people say they've been to all the regions, which I just put up a handful: Tijuana, Valle de Guadalupe, Ensenada, Loreto, or the other. And then nobody has said that they haven't visited yet. I hope everybody did. You all answer that poll? Look at that poll. Hey, Scott, what I'd love to do right now is, I know you worked as a fixer and you helped with these production companies who are now highlighting, whether it's Tijuana or Valle. And you did a project and actually appeared in one for the CIA, the Culinary Institute of America. And I'd love to play that because I think it gives a good, quick sense. It's a short video of what's happening down there, and to give people a little bit of a flavor of why they might want to put that on their destination list once things do open up. So I'm going to ask you to turn your mic off, and I'm going to play this video.
We are creating history. I mean, speaking gastronomically, Baja is not just, fish tacos and beer. I mean, we have so much more to offer.
You have some constant ingredients in them. You always have corn, you have tortillas, you have chiles, and a lot of seafood. Also some Asian flavors, Asian touches. The community that it's in Baja is people from all over the world.
What is interesting to see in the Baja cuisine is just the philosophical approach to it, of great respect for the terroir, great respect for high quality ingredients and seasonality.
Right now, what Baja cuisine really is the ingredient.
So much of it is locally grown, sustainably grown.
Well, whatever you can grow in the Mediterranean, you can grow it here in Baja.
We eat a lot of fish. We eat a lot of street food.
Los mariscos de Baja son especiales por la frescura que hay aquí.
La Baja Cuisine es realmente una mezcla de ingredientes con técnicas mediterráneas. Básicamente usamos todos los ingredientes del mar, como camarón, langosta y toda la variedad de peces que hay.
A common thread was cooking over wood burning oven or a grill, an outdoor kitchen, and The idea of bringing ingredients to the point of burnt, but stopping it right when it's perfectly charred, and then utilizing them in salsas and sauces is a brilliant layering of flavor.
All the food here is smoked or grilled, and we don't know anything else. It's like our thing.
The booming of Baja is because of the wine country. The wine was here before the food.
95% of the Mexican wine comes from these valleys.
We have everything. There's no way this state couldn't be great at food, at eating, at cooking. I mean, it was meant for that.
Baja California is special. It's where the desert meets the Pacific Ocean on one side and the Sea of Cortez on the other side. You have mountains, you have farms, you have beaches. There's such a variety of landscape. Some of the best hospitality in all of Mexico. The food is amazing. The chefs are visionary. The winemakers are experimental. It's an amazing place.
Turn the microphones back on. Wow. If that doesn't give you a little bit of eye candy and wonton, that's really good. It's so great to see Jose, Javier, Fernando on there.
I'm getting a little verklempt after that because I haven't. Just about everybody in that video is a friend, a good friend down in Baja. And I miss all of them. In fact, the young lady who said they like to burn things, which is Tatamato in Baja. Her name's Shayla Alvarado. And she is a very young chef from Sonora originally at Traslomita, which is a really nice casual alfresco spot in the Valle de Guadalupe at Lomita Winery. And the last restaurant we ate at where we ate in the Valle de Guadalupe was her new proposal, her new concept, which is called Lunario, which is more of a fine dining proposition, indoor dining. That just opened, I want to say like maybe 6 to 8 months before COVID struck. Our meal there, which was of course fantastic because Sheila's so talented and chooses all the fresh local ingredients and is very creative and does a lot of riffs on traditional Mexican cuisine, but presents it in a very modern way. That was our last meal. We had the Valle de Guadalupe, and that was back in December, and we haven't been back since. So I miss every single person in that video.
Oh, December. Think about that. All of you. Yeah. We've got an update on our viewers here so far. We've got 22% have been to Tijuana, 11% to Ensenada, Cabo San Lucas, which was leading in that, which I'm happy to see has dropped down because there's so much better than Cabo. But
Allan, I'm gonna provide a little bit of a contest there because Cabo does get short shrift, I think, from people who are more travelers than tourists like yourself and I like to consider myself. But over on the other side of Cabo, Los Cabos, you have San Jose del Cabo, and I must say there and in Cabo San Lucas, the dining scene is really hot. There's a lot of really good restaurants in San Jose del Cabo. Yeah, it's where most American tourists go, and there's the whole all-inclusive thing where you can lock yourself in the resort and just eat frozen food at the ranch there all day long. But there's a lot of really nice restaurants, and it's kind of a dining destination on my list. And it's beautiful. I mean, yeah, it's overdeveloped, but it's a beautiful part of Baja California.
No question, it's beautiful, and it can be a base camp for day trips from there to Todos Santos, and even if you're a little more aggressive, a little bit even to La Paz.
Love La Paz.
Yeah, La Paz is fantastic. So you do. I'm curious to ask you about, and a lot of people would love to know about gringoinmexico.com. Your website. When did it first started? How did you get seduced by Baja? Other than the fact that it's an easy way to cross an international border because we're in San Diego, we're so close. But of all the places, and even as you said, you don't know so much about your own backyard, but you are the de facto expert in Baja and elsewhere in Mexico. How did it start?
I moved to San Diego from Dayton, Ohio, in the Midwest, the landlocked Midwest with no international border, in 1994 when I was in my 20s. And one of the first things I wanted to do was visit. I think I'd only been to the Bahamas up to that point. And I wanted to visit Mexico because I wanted to, see what a foreign country was like, something outside of my comfort zone. So we started going down in 94, did kind of the typical gringo thing. We'd have, lobster in Puerto Nuevo and Baja. We'd hit the Avenida Revolucion in Baja and Tijuana, and buy all the blankets and hoodies and stuff from the street vendors there, and have two for one.
And to check out the zebras. People know that there are zebras in Tijuana.
They're called zonkies because they're actually donkeys painted to look like zebras, and they have it was actually named, I think, an historic landmark by some governing tourism body in Mexico recently. The zonkies were actually named a landmark, but they paint these donkeys like zebras, and then they have them attached to a cart, which doesn't go anywhere. It's just sitting on a corner on Avenida Revolucion in Tijuana, and tourists hop up in the cart and they take pictures with the zonkies, and it's a fun thing to do. A lot of people say, "Oh, those poor donkeys have to stand on the street," but I've seen them in between tourists stopping to take pictures, and they're very well fed and well cared for and well loved by the owners. So, I don't think it's a bad thing.
Yes. So let's come back to Gringo in Mexico. When did that first start? And
I really started because up until about 2012, when I go to Baja, like I said, it was margaritas and lobster on the beach, or hitting kind of the usual places on what I call the Gringo Trail, going to Rosarito Beach, staying at the Rosarito Beach Hotel, which is all fine to do, but it's what everybody does. So in 2012, I started exploring a little bit more deeply. And around that time, the cuisine has always been great in Tijuana and in Ensenada, which is a big seafood town. It's right there on a port. And but that's really when the farm to table movement around the Valle de Guadalupe started to take off. So I'd been all over the Gringo Trail in Baja. My family and I vacationed in different parts of Mexico. We'd been to the Yucatan, my wife Ursula and I, and then later our son Wolfgang after he was born. He's 12 now. We went to the Yucatan, we went to Michoacan, we went to Oaxaca. We were all over the place, and I really loved Mexico. So in 2012, I started going to Baja California more often and began writing about some of our travels we had when we were on vacation there, just as a fun way to kind of, relive what we'd experienced, and also share some of that with my friends and family. So the very first post on the Gringo in Mexico blog, which I started in 2012, was about a fishing trip that my friends Steve and Allan from back in Ohio took to San Felipe in 2012. 2012 was also when Baja was kind of getting over a very rough time, where they had a lot of cartels were acting out in the open. The border restrictions were a lot more stringent post 9/11. So coming back from Baja into the U.S. became kind of a task. People were waiting longer. So around 2012, Baja California was kind of coming out of this. They had a new president, didn't take as much as a hard line on the cartels. They stopped acting out in public so much, and tourists started kind of warily, very cautiously crossing the border to go down there again. So my friends and I went to San Felipe. We had a great time, caught a bunch of fish, which surprised me. And I came back and I wrote about that. And that was my first official post as a Gringo in Mexico.
Well, and you have been consistently posting and growing and doing a lot of, you've got like a lot of different features on there. You've got sponsors now. It's quite impressive. And in fact, what I'll do is I'll just, for those of you who want to do a quick bookmark, I'll just go ahead and put up a link to that in the offer column so people can see it. So you 2012 went on a fishing trip and had this this new kind of job, right? I mean, when did it start? And I don't mean to get into too much personal here, but when did it start really paying off and becoming less of a hobby and more of a job and almost a commitment you had to growing readership?
Well, after my first few stories, which again were just kind of travel logs, if you will, to just share with friends and family, I hooked up with a woman named Carla White, and she was the editor at the time of Baja.com. And she had seen some of my personal posts and asked if I wanted to start writing for them. So I got my first paid gigs as a travel and food and culture writer ever through Baja.com. So I started writing in earnest for them. I wrote about the Rosarito Art Festival. One very early story that kind of broke me as a food writer was Baja.com wanted to know more about the Plasencia family in Tijuana. And everybody had heard of Javier because he was very much the poster boy of come back to Baja, everything's fine. We've got some great food. Javier's a really nice dude, great chef, laid back surfer type cat who, spent time in both Tijuana and San Diego. He's a real cross-border personality. So I did a story on Grupo Plasencia and all the different restaurants they own in Tijuana. And the brothers, Javier, his older brother Tana, and his younger brother Julian, spent about 6 hours with me one weekday visiting several of their restaurants, and they just gave me full access as far as letting me know the history of the family. Had some really good food at Caesar's restaurant, which they have owned and operated since 2010, which is, of course, the home of the famous Caesar salad. And they're very, very generous with their time. So that touched me, and that encouraged me to really start writing about food more and exploring a bit more.
Okay. Hey, I want to give a shout out. Your son Wolfgang is tuned in. Bonnie and Doug Toth are from Sea Ranch in California, two friends of mine. And actually, this is interesting enough. We did we usually would get together once every few months and taste wine and cook food together. And of course, under COVID, we're not able to really do that. So last night was probably our 5th or 6th virtual tasting we did over FaceTime. And we opened up a Baja wine. It was a red yesterday from Casa de Piedras called the Ensemble, which is a weird blend. It even has Barbera in there with Petit Verdot. But anyway, Karen Kruger's in from New Jersey. Christopher from Old Chatham, New York. Welcome. Fausto is coming in from Tijuana. I love it.
What's up, buddy? I know him well.
Yeah.
He's a friend of mine.
I've got there's a question. It's kind of a question from Paul Stipes. It's a private. It shows up, but Paul's coming in from Columbus, and he says, tequila, mezcal, or wine, best buzz, and which of the Beatles was supposed to be dead?
Sipes. Paul is one of my oldest friends. We've been hanging out since we were 17 years old. We used to get into a lot of trouble together back in the day. And that Beatles reference is one I won't go into a lot of detail about. But let's just say I was on a date with a young lady, and we were talking Beatles trivia, and he made fun of me saying, what did you do? Whisper in each other's ears, Beatle trivia questions like, which of the Beatles is supposed to be dead? So that's funny. As far as if you're looking for a buzz, I guess tequila or mezcal. If you drink enough of either, it's going to get you there. If you drink the cheap tequila, we're going to regret it the next morning. If you drink the better tequila or some of the better mezcals out there, you can have a good old time at night, and the next morning wake up and maybe there will be a little fog, but not as bad as if you drink like a $5 bottle of tequila.
We've got Rudy Maxa, who's he's a Emmy Award-winning travel host, tuned in today. A friend of mine as well. He's in from St. Paul, tuning in. He says it's pretty cold there, and he's happy that at least I can ride my bike to the beach. He's a little jealous, I think, on that. And he's also jonesing right now for some Baja wine. And I think, Rudy, there's Fausto put up a link in the chat that you can buy wine in the U.S. there. And he's talking about Lulu. And
that's El Ame Wines. That's the place that the distributor that distributed this to my friend Coral's restaurant. So there's a direct connection between Fausto's link and this wine, and that is a good place to order them. And they ship, I think, just about anywhere in the U.S.
Angie Branner, who's also San Diego based and a food writer and author, she makes a note: Best Buy Lacheto olive oil by the gallon. Use it on everything. I do like a good Valle Nebbiolo and Temperino. Anyway, and then she's says shout out to Deckman's. Anna Fernandez wants to say there must be a way for you to convince those border guards that you are essential. That's what she's doing. She's going to and Angie's saying there's a wonderful coffee house in La Mission. So maybe you know that. Let's see what else we've got. Michael's coming in from Montreal. Michael's been a regular on here, so thank you very much, Rudy. Thanks for the wine link. So that's just a little bit of our audience kind of tuning in. If you've got specific questions, go right in. I wanted to, one of the features you do, and since right now it's we can't travel, but looking at that video, which Bonnie had indicated, that was just wonderful, and I think everybody loved that. You do a feature every year where you kind of try to find the top 10 bites in Baja, restaurants, dishes, specific dishes. And I wanted to, we don't need to get a lot of detail into the whole thing. I put together your list, which I know some tied, so you actually couldn't choose 10. You had to go with 12 for 2019. And I want to kind of show these because not only are you a writer and you're a graphic designer, but you're a damn good photographer capturing the beauty of Baja cuisine and street food. Here, so let me bring up this this top 10 Baja bites for 2019, and you can kind of let's do a quick overview. I'm going to go ahead and make our little icons a bit smaller here, okay. And maybe stick them up over here. There we go. So these are in the reverse order of the, number 10 to number 1 that you rated for 2019. How many years have you been doing the top 10?
I've been doing the top 10 list, I want to say since 2014, Alan, so about 6 years.
Awesome. Mm-hmm. Awesome. So here, we've got the name of the dish and the name of the restaurant and where they are here, but, Tacos de Sodaro, really quick. What is that?
Sodaro is a cut of the beef that's not used a lot. It's kind of around the brisket on the bottom of the cow. Very popular in Mexico City as a street food. You don't find them. They're not as common in Tijuana or Baja California as like say al pastor or of course carne asada or birria. So my friend Adrian Mejia at Tacos El Gallito in the Otay Mesa neighborhood of Tijuana, they serve tacos de Sodaro, and they're just delicious. They're full of flavor. He uses like a lemon citrus marinade, soaks them in that for a while, and uses really good quality corn tortillas. And you can't eat just one.
Now, I recognize these because I've had these at least 3 times. My God, Deckman's Pai Oysters.
Deckman oysters.
Yeah, these are delicious. I mean,
go ahead.
He's an oyster monger, right? I mean, I could call him that. Where are these coming from?
He has an interest in one of the aquaculture firms down there in Ensenada, so they always give him the pick of all their latest farmed oysters, and these are the Pai oysters. They're very small, yet very meaty. They were bred and actually designed to have a deeper cup so that you get even more oyster in there, and they're just delicious. And Drew just uses a little bit of mignonette on them. You don't want to do what you do here in the U.S. and dump a bunch of horseradish and cloying, seafood sauce on them. Just a little bit of mignonette really brings out the flavor. It's got a very mild brine. They're very crisp and delicious. And one of the things I miss most about Baja right now are Deckman oysters.
Yeah. I love that with that mignonette sauce. It's fantastic. And who would think, right? Pizza hits the top 10 list on a Gringo in Mexico. What? This is one of those things I would say to somebody, when you go somewhere, don't buy pizza. If you're going, you're in, I don't know, I was in Odessa in the Ukraine. What am I going to do? Go get pizza? No, I want some Ukrainian food. So how did the pizza open up on your day? Your list here?
Alan, I go down there all the time and you eat enough Baja Med or Mediterranean influenced food, enough seafood, so many tacos. So much traditional Mexican food. Sometimes you just want something a little different. So my friends Tanya and Memo, who are two young chefs in Ensenada, and ran what was one of my favorite, or still is one of my favorite taquerias in Ensenada, which is called Criollo. They opened up this pizza shop with these two really high-end pizza ovens they imported from England, and they just make a really good, pizza.
Nice thin crust, crispy on the bottom there.
Perfectly crispy. It's wood fired. It's delicious, and they're in Ensenada. Again, if you want to change from seafood, check them out.
So filet aguachile. LAX, La X, Alexima. I haven't been here. I haven't heard of this place. Tell us about it. And what is this dish?
Well, this is a restaurant which now is, I think they're a Cuya, or they've changed their name and they've changed their chef since they had this proposal. But it's Alximia, which is an Ensenada family-owned winery in the Valle de Guadalupe. And this particular dish was just a very, quickly seared beef fillet. It was marinated in lime to do some of the cooking like you would aguachile in Mexico, which is like lime or lemon marinated shrimp. That actually
ceviche,
yeah. And then they had this really just wonderful tatamato Asian sauce that you pour over it. And it was just delicious.
Wow. Now La Central. This looks like a feast right here.
There's a funny story behind this one too, Alan. I was at at the Vendimia, the wine festival in Ensenada. We were at the opening event, which is a Salon del Vino, and Javier Plasencia was there, and he told me I just opened up a new pop-up, and he was doing Oaxacan food with Alex Ruiz from Casa Oaxaca in Oaxaca. And I said, oh, that's great. I'll visit next time I come back. And he's like, well, what are you doing tomorrow? And I said, I've already got lunch plans. And Javier said, cancel them. So we rolled to La Central, which was a pop-up in the Valle de Guadalupe. And they had all their meats imported directly from Oaxaca. So we've got cecina, tasajo, chorizo, all from Oaxaca on a nice, crisp, large corn, I guess tortilla is the closest thing that
tortilla. Yeah, it looks like that's cooked right out on the fire right there, fresh.
All fire, all cooked over wood. Delicious.
So you've got a tostada from Tatanka. I mean, just look at that. I mean, what else can you say? You just dig into that. That's so they're a fish and steakhouse. They're a fish house and a steakhouse. What's in this particular dish?
This one, what it does basically is it deconstructs the classic Puerto Nuevo lobster-style lobster dish. So it's fried lobster with butter. There's rice. There's beans. The beans are in that little croquette on the top there, and it's served on a nice, crispy, crunchy tostada. And it's like you take your classic Puerto Nuevo meal and put it on top of a tostada and dig in. It was really good from Chef Carlos David Valdez, who is now back in La Paz, and he has a Tatanka down there too. He's one of my favorite chefs in Baja.
Wow, I'm gonna definitely check that out. I haven't been there. This image is more of a vertical. I cropped it in a bit, but this could be my favorite, at least visually, of everything other than those oysters. Mm-hmm. So this is from Tecate, and how cool of you now we've seen a lot of Ensenada, Tijuana, and Valle, but here's an award winner in Tecate, which I always pass right through, frankly.
A lot of people do, Alan, and they shouldn't, because Tecate actually is kind of off the beaten tourist path, but it has a lot to offer as far as cuisine and culture. This particular restaurant, Restaurant Amores, is owned and operated by my friend Marcelo Hisaki, and he's half Mexican, half Japanese, and just does some of the best food. He was trained in Europe, just does some of the best, most elegant food, completely delicious, very imaginary, very innovative, fine dining that you'll find anywhere in Baja. And frankly, Restaurant Amores would be the one place that would make me break my Baja hiatus and go down again sooner versus later. Amores is my favorite restaurant in Baja, possibly in Mexico, possibly anywhere.
This was the Gringo in Mexico's #1 dish for the Baja Bites Awards, which are sponsored by a bunch of great people down in Baja and beyond, including one of my favorite winemakers, Sitara Perez at Valley Girl Wines, and she was the sponsor, wasn't she?
She was, and the Gringo will work for wine, or accept sponsors in exchange for wine. So Sitara was very kind to be a sponsor, and instead of charging her for money, we made a nice trade, and she gave me a case of her reds, which were just fantastic. I'd had her whites and I'd had her rosado before, but not a lot of experience with her reds. And boy, I got to tell you, she knows what she's doing.
Yeah, that's it. It's great, and I love. I'm on her Instagram and her Facebook. She's doing, and I know it's tough for everybody down there because of the lack of tourism coming over the border. And it seems everybody's having fun down there. They've got live music every weekend at Valley Girl Wines, and that's good. And then another favorite of mine, who is a fan of the Journeys webcast, and I don't know, she hasn't chimed in, but True Miller, who is the owner of Adobe Guadalupe, which is a winery and a 5-star boutique bed and breakfast, if you will, beautiful place with amazing horses, unique horses. And she also appeared. All of you, this is how I first kind of was doing research for the pilot I shot down in Baja, and I contacted you as well as a lot of other people for some tips, some ideas, and let me learn. I wanted to find things. Now, one of the things you alluded to in a minute, I want to quickly run through this, and I put this in the teaser for the show, that the Baja California has a lot of firsts that people don't know about. And you kind of riffed right over it before, but I don't think people understand the most famous salad in the world probably was invented in Tijuana. Do you want to share a little bit about that?
Sure. Yeah, it's the Caesar salad. Everybody thinks it comes from Rome because it's called Caesar's, right? But it was invented by an Italian, and his name was Cesar Cardini. In 1921, he had a restaurant in San Diego, and then he opened up restaurant Caesar's in Tijuana, right on Avenida Revolucion, which is kind of the main drag in Tijuana. And the story goes that one night, some hungry airmen from San Diego, some guys from the Navy who were flyers, came knocking on the door of his restaurant after hours. They were hungry. Caesar wanted to feed them, so he used all that he had in his stores, in his freezer and his cupboards, which was apparently romaine lettuce, anchovy, garlic, croutons, etc. So that's how the necessity is the mother of invention, right? So these guys needed to eat. He threw something together. The salad became famous and still is today.
Another interesting thing about Baja, which also relates to that story, is how popular it was during those 13 or 14 years in the United States under Prohibition, because this was so close. Mexico, Tijuana was so close, and as well as Ensenada, to L.A., Hollywood. A lot of the Hollywood elite, and a lot of course, we like to say the Navy, and we don't need to say the drunken sailors, but the sailors would cross the border, because they could do a couple things. They could drink. You couldn't do here in the U.S. under Prohibition. And there was a casino, and you could gamble, which is something else you really couldn't do at that time in USA. So Tijuana's, initial tourism surge happened during those Prohibition, and among that time is when this Caesar salad was invented.
And if you go to Caesar's restaurant today, and it's owned by a group of Placencia, they took it over in 2010. It had really fallen on hard times. From what I understand, was even kind of being used as a place for ladies of the evening, shall we say. And so they took it over. The previous owner had run it into the ground and was being evicted, so they took it over and kind of restored it to its former glory. And if you go in there today, you look on the wall, you'll see pictures from that era, the 1920s and 30s in Tijuana, pictures of Stan Laurel and Oliver Hardy, pictures of Charlie Chaplin, pictures of all the Hollywood starlets just having a good old time down in TJ.
Yeah, so cool. Hey, so you did not only helped me get organized and find unique little gems down in Baja for my TV show, you appeared in the show. And as I mentioned in the intro, I said, this is how, sadly, the show didn't go to full series because Scripps got bought out by Discovery Channel and all the executives kind of went waywire. So my show got lost in the rumble of the shuffle of that merger acquisition. But nonetheless, this I'm going to play this clip. It plays the opening of the show, and then it plays where you and Sitara, even though I had Javier, we did cover the Caesar salad. I'm not going to play that whole thing. This is just a short clip. So enjoy this. This is a very rare and a treat. And thank you, Scott, for being on this. And it's kind of fun to go back and watch what we did.
Of course. Let's see it.
We'll turn the mics off.
I'm riding south from San Diego and heading into Mexico. There's much to learn about Mexico's rich history, especially through its food. I'm going to find out just who invented what is perhaps the world's most famous salad.
There's no kitchen here. Everything is prepped and cooked on fire right out here.
Who really made the first margarita? I'll try to settle a century-old dispute. Let's not forget to indulge in the nightlife, from the crazy to, well, the unusual. And this adventure begins in the Mexico border town of Tijuana. My name is Allan Karl, and I like to keep moving. I'm an author, adventurer, and global food explorer. I've ridden through 75 countries so far, and I'm not stopping until I've been to them all.
This is crazy!
I'm on a quest, searching for the most unique food. Come, ride with me. People have been planting vineyards here for over 120 years, making it one of the oldest wine-producing areas on the continent. But only in the last 20 years has this place started to develop a following.
When people think of Mexico, they're thinking cerveza, tacos, tequila.
Mm-hmm. Well, the tequila and the tacos we use quite a bit.
They're pretty good though, right?
They're really good.
But yet it's much more, isn't it?
Yeah.
To find this hidden valley, veer off the beaten track. Take the back roads, far from the beaches and the coast. Or, if you dare, come by helicopter.
You've got a helicopter.
Hey, I have a helicopter pad.
You've got a helicopter pad.
The helicopters come mostly from San Diego. They come for breakfast, they come for lunch, they come for dinner, and then they go back home, but they buy the wines here. Before it was always the wine, France and Italy, and of course, and now it's just like, wow, the wine is good too. It really is amazing.
Hop on my bike and head through the vineyards to get to a hidden restaurant tucked into the hillside, a place fueled by passion and fire. Deckman's is an outdoor restaurant that serves farm-to-table fare under pine trees on these rustic wooden tables beneath the warm glow of festoon lights.
There's no kitchen here. Y preparado también? Todo fuera?
Todo fuera.
Everything is prepped and cooked on fire right out here in this kitchen. ¿Qué es?
Arrachera.
Oh, okay, skirt steak.
Yeah.
Look at the size of those ribeyes.
Yeah.
Man. Ah, tortillas.
Yeah.
They're making tortillas right out here on the fire.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Yeah. Perfectly crisp. Everything here cooked on the fire.
It's like you've got a backstage pass to the world's most incredible barbecue. To learn more about how the food here is changing this part of Mexico, I join a table full of heavy hitters from the local winemaking and culinary scene.
Deckman's. I mean, this has become like one of the go-to places.
It's iconic.
I don't think the rest of the world knows what's going on and how beautiful this place is.
They're starting to know little by little, but it's really still very much a regional treasure.
This is like Napa used to be in the 70s, and it's amazing.
Culture is growing here. Yeah. And the one thing that I've recognized is how proud Mexicans are of the culture here.
Hot off the open fire, it's time to feast on some of the best food in the valley.
Octopus, bone marrow, quail.
Yeah, boom. This is amazing.
Homemade bread with some grease of the same bone marrow.
The thing about these three plates is nothing from these dishes came from further than 100 miles away from where we are right now.
Oh my God. People, when they think of Mexico,
have to break
Look what you can find here.
Yes,
Yeah,
we
have to
do.
break that stereotype of
You're right, Gilberto.
Yeah, Mexico. Yeah, I mean, how are we going to do that?
We're doing it.
We're doing it here, right?
right now, right here, by eating and drinking.
Salute.
More food.
Oh yeah, we got more food. That was fun, wasn't it?
Good times, my friend. Good times.
Oh wow, yeah. And Gilberto, yeah, that was really good.
You know,
So
he's been down in Cabo for the past couple years.
Oh really?
Yeah, I think he's coming back. I chatted with him a few months ago, but he was unusual in the Valle. He was doing food based off of native Kumeyaay ingredients and techniques, which were the native people of the region.
Yeah, I remember that. He had it was his restaurant just opening or just closing at the time we met him there. He was in transition.
He did seasonal pop-ups at two different vineyards. I met him when he was at Cava Maciel, and then the next year he was at, I can't remember the name of the winery right now, but then immediately after that he went down to Cabo to cook. Like I said, there's some good food in Cabo.
There's definitely. It's like of all the places. I mean, how do I put that on my list? I don't know. I guess I got to do it. If somebody's asking if I can post the link to that video that was just played, he can't locate Anna. I'm not sure I can. I don't. It's a copyrighted thing, but that clip will be in this video because it's kind of a way I can kind of hide it. So the replay. So make sure you go to. There's a link up there. Subscribe to my YouTube. And this link, this webcast will be posted either late tomorrow or early on Wednesday, and you'll be able to go to that. You can, of course, if you know in YouTube, you can copy a link's location, so you don't have to sit through the first hour of this to get to that. You can copy the actual timestamp for that. And speaking of which, I know we usually try to keep these things to an hour, but there's still so much to discuss. So if you guys are willing to stick around a little bit, I know we've got a couple more videos and we've got a few more questions about firsts in Baja, and we want to tap into Scott's Bajapedia, if you will, for knowledge about where to go once we can get over that border. So if you stick around, Scott, can I have you stick around a little bit?
Yeah, I got nothing better to do.
Okay, fantastic. This is what I like to hear. I'm just going to look in the Tom. Fausto says Sodaro said lovely. Okay. Bonnie says many years ago there was a fine dining restaurant in Ensenada named El Rey Sol. Do you know if it still exists? Do you know, Scott?
I think it does, and I believe they do French food. Sadly and regrettably, I've never been, but it's a place that I've kind of had on my radar for a few years now.
Okay, there you go. If you have any more questions, go ahead and pop in there. I'm going to take the offer off right now on Gringo Mexico, and I want to put a link up. I should have done this when if you want to learn more about the beautiful photography in those restaurants, including that, I call it the love restaurant, the Amores, Restaurante Amores in Tecate. There's a link right now to the actual article on the top 10/12 bites right there. So you can go ahead and click that and bookmark that. It's a really great article. And you can see all the other sponsors, including Sodaro, on there as well. One of the things, Scott, that I love and in talking to you right here is, I'm going to switch back. I'm going to do it this way. There we go. One of the things I love about travel is all the food is good, the wine is great, the architecture, the art, and the culture. But perhaps the best thing, and the thing that really, rotates my tires, as a friend of mine used to say when describing something that really he got passionate about, and that is people. And, often I travel alone. I'm a solo traveler, and I like that because it forces you to be open and connect with people. And one of the things I love is just going through that TV clip. I'm remembering meeting all of those people and sharing that powerful gift of human connection and over a good meal or a glass of wine. It is that. And you sent me some photos, Scott, that I want to share. And all of these photos are of people, and even hearing you talk, as we talked about the food, you talk about the chefs as if they're friends. This is where I think the real reward comes from travel, especially into a different culture than our own, where you can learn, and by being open, you can expand and become more full of a whole of a person. So if with that kind of intro, you'd allow me to share some of these pictures, and maybe you could briefly just tell us about these people and the connections you've made over the 20 years you've been wandering around Mexico.
Let's do it.
Okay, here we go.
Mm-hmm. This is,
this is Caesar's. I can recognize that. I know this is Caesar's.
This is me. The gentleman next to me is my friend Ramon, who is the publisher of San Diego Red. Next to him is Edric Reyes, who at the time was in Baja Tourism. And then in the front there is that's Juan Jose, who was working with San Diego Red next to Edric. And in the front there is my friend Cynthia Soto, who's one of the best photographers when it comes to capturing some of the food and the wine and the landscapes of Baja California, and particularly the Valle in our region. And we're doing a story on the Caesar salad and the Victor salad, which is kind of Caesar's little brother. And, it's tough. Here I am researching with some good Mexican friends in Mexico. My made-up job. It's so difficult, Alan. Let me tell you,
it's terrible. Now, I'm looking at this table right now, and I recognize this before, and not that it's a prerequisite for that, but what Baja wine would we be pairing with that Caesar salad? There's no wine on the table.
No, there's not. It was a working lunch, man. Come on.
Okay.
I would have probably like a nice crisp white. I think Lulu's La Chanine that she used to make with Tom would be good. What you've got right there would be good. Maybe Satara's Blush would be good. Definitely something on the lighter, crisper side to complement the salad. This is me with the CIA, the Culinary Institute of America, with my excellent friend Doña Estela in purple there. And Doña Estela has La Cocina de Doña Estela in the Valle de Guadalupe, and she was named the world's tastiest breakfast. She does traditional Sinaloan breakfast there. Makes her own corn and flour tortillas. She makes famous for something called borrego tatemado, which is lamb that she pit cooks overnight. Then she crisps it in a homemade stove the next morning and serves it with a consomme. She's a wonderful person. She puts a lot of love into her food. I am very proud to say that I helped make her the tastiest breakfast in the world when I was working for Foodie Hub. We gave her that award. Had a couple of people come and verify what I already knew, which was her breakfasts are amazing. And that kind of propelled her into regional fame. Everybody picked up on that story. And now to get into a restaurant on a weekend, there's like a 2-hour wait.
Yeah, I tried to go there on your recommendations, and there was no way I was going to get in.
Next time we go down, Alan, let me know, because she spoils me. What I'll do is I'll walk past the line. I'll bring a group of people. I'll walk past the line. I'll find Estela. I'll get my big giant hug, and then if all the tables are full, she ushers my party and I into the kitchen. And we actually sit at a table in there and enjoy her delicious.
The chef's table. And just for those of you who are watching, when Scott said Sinaloan cuisine, he said that so fast. And Sinaloa is one of the 32 states. I think it's 32. Correct me, somebody in the chat. I think it's because, it's not only we are the United States, but Mexico are also Estados Unidos. But that Sinaloa is one of those states, and some cuisine that I haven't been to Sinaloa nor explored that, but I look forward to meeting her.
These are my two friends who I really, really, really miss. On my right there with the hat on is Fernando Cuevas of Tourism Baja. On my left is Francisco, also known as Paco Perez, who owns a Quias Texcoco in Chula Vista. And they've also got a branch in LA. And the original one, it's a barbacoa restaurant, was in Tijuana. So these two gentlemen and I started a Tijuana taco tour, late last year, where we take people to some of the lesser known taquerias in Tijuana. And right when we started going, COVID hit. So that tour, we call ourselves Three Amigos Taco Tours. It's on hold, but we're going to come back as soon as Baja comes back, and everything is improved down there a little bit. Both of these guys are just terrific, easy to know. We laugh a lot, we eat a lot, and have a great time together.
Scott, Fausto wants to know, what has been the biggest or most unexpected culinary surprise while in Baja?
That's a good question, Fausto. I would say when we started the Tijuana taco tours with the gentleman in that last slide, I only knew really kind of all of the taquerias that the gringos know. Tacos El Frank, Mariscos El Mazateno. And Paco, on my left there, he has lived in Tijuana. He's a Spaniard, but he's living in Tijuana most of his life. He just took me to, I want to say, at least 24 taquerias that I didn't even know existed in Tijuana, and turned me on to just, whole new worlds of street food flavor. So that was a really nice surprise. And then, of course, Restaurant Amores was a surprise to find such a high level of fine dining in such a rustic little community like Tecate. Yeah.
Okay, here we have, it looks like tostadas or something there. What do we got?
We're at Mariscos El Paison in Tijuana. The gentleman in the green T-shirt to my left, some of your viewers here, Alan, might recognize. His name is Mark Weens, and he is kind of like the Anthony Bourdain of YouTube food shows. He goes all around the world. He's from Thailand, from Bangkok. He travels all around the world and tries different cuisine everywhere, and he gets millions of hits on his videos. And earlier this year in February, before COVID hit, I had the honor of showing him around Baja. So we had a terrific time. We ate for 2 days in Tijuana, Ensenada, Popotla. We didn't make it to the Valle because he's mostly kind of a street food guy. He doesn't really cover fine dining so much. And
okay.
Great experience with Mark.
Awesome. This is a crowd. Look at these guys. There's a lot of gringos in here too.
There sure are. This was I was working, the lady on my left there, her name is Rose Mendoza, and she operates a tour company formerly out of San Jose, California. She's since moved to Austin. And these are folks mostly from Northern California, with a couple of good people from Iowa that she had signed up for a tour, and she hired me to be a co-host along with her. And we spent 3 great days eating our way through the Valle de Guadalupe, including once again with my friend Doña Estela there in the middle.
Oh, there's Doña. I didn't see her right away. Yes.
Oh, and then this is Chef Alan Stein from the BBC. He's very famous. Rick Stein, I'm sorry, from the BBC. He has a lot of. He's kind of the Anthony Bourdain of England. So he was doing a show on the Californias, all the way from Northern California down into Baja, and then he even kind of went into mainland Mexico a little bit. And I had the pleasure of showing him around Ensenada and helping fix that segment of the show that he was doing. Chef Rick Stein, really nice guy. We look like we could be brothers here. We both have that ruddy complexion. Oh my. This is me just being silly. On the left, I'm at Ensenada's at a really good Mariscos cart called El Paison. And then on the right side, I'm holding a giant spider crab from the seafood fishing village of Popotla, which is just south of Rosarito Beach. And they fry those up like the Puerto Nuevo lobsters, kind of. They're delicious.
Awesome. It is about people, and it's good to be silly.
With these pictures.
I go, I've ridden from from Baja all the way to Chiapas. And I think I've covered 17 of those. We didn't get a confirmation. Maybe Fausto knows how many Mexican states there are. I want to say 32. So I've been to more than half.
Wow.
And I would love to go more. I have spent time in Oaxaca and in in the colonial route. A lot of people think of beaches, but I think the colonial route through the mountains, the Sierra Madre, the Zacatecas, San Luis Potosi, Durango, and and next to Leon, Guanajuato, which was once the capital of Mexico. Such beautiful places. I'm sure you've been to a lot of them. It is a treasure trove of history, and the colonial architecture is all very, very kind of endearing too.
And you also find that those regions are home to a lot of the pre-Hispanic cuisine that's been around since the time of the Aztecs. So if you really want to absorb the cultural, not just the architecture and the history and, the Spanish invasion and the subsequent Mexican revolutions, but if you really want to experience, real Mexican cuisine, you get into Michoacan and Oaxaca and areas like that, and you're eating with traditional Mexican cooks, mostly female, and it's just a lot of amazing history that goes into their food.
Yeah, no, Oaxaca was a culinary orgasm for me. I mean, yeah, absolutely. You last were in Mexico, last meal at Amores in December. I think about that, and I know that you, as a blogger and like me as a traveler, do have a little bit of cabin fever. But I noticed on your YouTube site that you've been doing. You've been trying to, like me, use my YouTube channel to go back through old footage and share stories and great images and people from all over the world. And you've got a new series that you've put up on your YouTube channel, and it's called the Mexican Minute, right? Something like that. Is that right?
That's right. The infamous Mexican Minute.
So before I show an episode of that, I wanted to finish up on the first. So we mentioned the Caesar salad invented in Tijuana there at Caesar's. Also, people might, you get a lot of pushback from people who will say that fish tacos maybe were invented in San Felipe, but they were also, I think it was Phoenix, that for the most part were the first ones to do the fish taco. And then secondly, I want you to speak to both of these. We said the most famous salad in the world, but probably the most famous drink in the world was also invented in Ensenada, in Baja. And although there's a bit of a controversy about which place, so I'm gonna leave that to the Mexico Explorer expert.
Now, I'm not a big margarita drinker, so my information here might be sketchy, Alan. You could probably correct me since you did a segment on it. But the two places I believe that created the margarita, and it was created for American tourist and American taste, were, I want to say, Husong's Cantina, yep, and Bar Andaz, which was part of the old...
Andaluz, yeah.
Andaluz, thank you, which was part of the old casino, which is still there in Ensenada. So we don't know which place it really comes from, but I think Andaluz is the more credible, that most people usually feel really invented the margarita.
Yeah. That when it comes down to it, have you ever met Mimo? The older guy. He's pretty much a fixture at. He was in my show at Husong's, and lives right near the coast there in Ensenada. But he ended up being the appointed person from Husong's to tell that story, and he's funny. He's like, Andaluz, but later, yeah, but later that night, I was in Husong's late night where it was just packed, and they have all the people running around, and I was talking with a number of people, plus their oldest customer, who's got a little picture posted on there. He was 100 and I don't know. But we chatted with him for a bit, but they were these two young women, and they were very firm when I said, who invented the first margarita? And here they are, they're in Husong's, and they said, no, Bar Andaluz. So
okay.
We'll even though they certainly weren't around back then, but
they told you in whispered tone so they didn't get bounced from Husong's.
Yeah.
Speaking such
too funny. So, and the fish taco.
Yes, yeah. The fish taco comes from tempura recipes from Japanese fishermen who immigrated to Baja California during the last century, in the, I want to say, 40s, 50s, and 60s. and they would, they missed home, so they brought their tempura recipes with them, and they would batter their fish and eat it. And I think the San Felipe legend comes because Ralph Rubio from San Diego used to go surfing down there, and he's the one who was responsible for bringing the classic fish taco recipe, which is battered and fried fish, usually shark, if you're in Ensenada, back here to the United States. And he started the Rubio's chain of restaurants, which I think now is nationwide. So he really popularized it with a recipe from San Felipe. But most people do believe that Tacos El Phoenix in Ensenada was where the first fish tacos were produced and sold commercially.
Which again is another whole. It's just a street cart. It's one of those great street foods. I've been there, and will attest to the incredible food. And it's so funny because this place is, as you can imagine, just a little street stand, and they have there's an old Ford van, I think from the 70s, right next to the. A hop over a little bit of a driveway, an alleyway driveway, and this is their warehouse. So it's pretty good for sure.
What I love about street food, man, is it's rustic, it's rugged. There's very much a can-do attitude, and everything's kind of strung together, sometimes held together with twine and bubble gum. But man, it's some of the best food on the planet you're going to find is on the streets.
Yeah. So before I play the Mexican Minute about fish tacos, tell me, how did Mexican Minute come about, and what's the next episode?
Well, the last restaurant review, because I was really kind of on a roll with writing restaurant reviews for not only my blog, but several different media outlets through 2019. My last restaurant review was written in February in Tijuana at a restaurant called Georgina, which is very good. And that all stopped. When COVID hit and the border restrictions hit and we stopped going down, I lost I never realized how much my identity and my lifestyle was wrapped up in Baja California until I couldn't go anymore. So, I found myself now with, we were all, of course, isolated, especially at first, with time on my hands that I would have otherwise spent going to Baja and eating really good food and writing reviews. And I still wanted to, kind of keep the Gringo brand alive, as it were. So I decided to do these short videos, and I've done 5. I promised myself I would do 6 in search of an audience. And if I couldn't find it, I would just call it at 6. But I started doing these short videos just using old clips and footage I'd taken down in Baja California and elsewhere in Mexico, and hope that it would find an audience and be interesting to people about some of the different food and culture that's happening in the country.
Okay, well, let's watch the legend of Baja California's famous fish taco on the Mexican Minute from a Gringo in Mexico.
Let's do it.
Hey everyone, this is Scott Koenig, and bienvenido to episode 3 of the Mexican Minute with a Gringo in Mexico. There's something fishy about this week's episode, because we're talking about Baja California's famous fish taco. It's debatable among fish taco aficionados as to whether the first fillet was battered and fried in Ensenada or San Felipe, though most agree that it was Japanese fishermen who immigrated to the region in the 1950s and 60s who influenced this Baja California staple. Baja fish tacos are always best when they're made with fresh, local fish. In Ensenada, it's usually shark, dipped in tempura batter, deep fried, and served on a corn tortilla. Simply add a squeeze of limon, shredded cabbage, pico de gallo, a splash of your favorite salsa, and crema, and voila! You've got a classic Baja fish taco. Tacos El Phoenix in Ensenada claims to be the home of the first fish taco, which is now served everywhere on the Baja California Peninsula. My favorite is Tacos El Estadio in La Paz, Baja California Sur, where large, scrumptious fillets of sea bass are fried to perfection. But no matter where you enjoy them, the fish taco is riquísimo when in Baja California. Stay tuned for future episodes of the Mexican Minute with the Gringo in Mexico. And make sure you hit the subscribe button so you don't miss a single delicious morsel. Provecho!
Oh, Allan, I can't hear you, buddy.
Yeah, that's me usually. You know, I forget to turn on that darn microphone. Anyway, I love that. Keep up with the Mexican Minutes. You should do more than 6 of them. I love your use of the existing footage that you have, your photography, and a good little and quick, short and sweet, good stuff.
Here's the funny thing about that: the name, the Mexican Minute. Is a Mexican minute. They say in Mexico, a Mexican minute can be a minute, or it could be an hour, or it can be a day, or it could be a week. So it's kind of, making fun of like the lack of punctuality, I think, in some of the more casual corners of Mexico. So my Mexican minute videos are actually about 2 minutes long.
Yeah. Fausto has confirmed I was right. 32 states. So we've got that. Mexico has 32 states.
Thanks, Fausto.
And there, let's just check with the chat com. And the last thing I wanted to kind of cover. So we know how you're keeping busy in the keeping busy by making Mexican Minute. You're satisfying your wanderlust and your cabin fever through creating these things. Plus, you're finding a new. And I tell people this too: explore your own backyard. You know, for us travelers who tend to just be always looking for something, whether it's the grass is greener over there, that sometimes maybe this opportunity to explore your own backyard, instead of focusing on what you're missing or what you really want to be doing, is look at what you're gaining and learning. And you're learning about San Diego. I'm learning too. I'm finding more time to, I rarely get in my car. I ride that bicycle, as I mentioned, and I'm just exploring my little community right here, which is really rare. And that is, that's been wonderful for me. And I think for all of us to have a change of perspective is to look at this. There are tough times, no question. We're all battling something. Hopefully you're staying safe and you're not, you haven't been taken down by the COVID or experienced those kinds of symptoms. Do what's right, socially distance, wear a mask, these kinds of things. But coming back to, new things and finding what you can do in this time. I actually have a garden. I had a garden this summer. I'm never here in the summer. And I grew cucumbers, peppers, tomatoes. I have a whole herbs, an herb garden. And I cook almost every day. In fact, one of the rules I put up earlier about rules of for life from a life on the road is to cook for yourself. Even for those of us who do love to be in restaurants, there's something rewarding about actually preparing your own meal, choosing the ingredients and trying something new. So it's a great thing. But I want to talk about Blogger Confidential. You've got a new book coming out. So so before we close down, what's Scott doing next? Tell us what's happening here.
Well, it's funny, Allan, because I do better as a diner than a cook. So I never really cooked a lot. But since COVID hit, I've been experimenting in the kitchen. In the last 7 months, I taught myself how to make birria de res at home because I miss good birria so much.
Now tell us what birria de res is for those that may be unique.
It's a traditional food that originally comes from the state of Jalisco and was made with goat. It's basically, but here in the north, they eat a lot more with beef or res because we're so close to the state of Sonora, which is Mexico's main beef producing state. So they do birria de res. It's like spiced with chilies and 20 different ingredients, and then slow stewed. And it makes great tacos. So I taught myself how to make that. It's savory. It's just fantastic. Taught myself to make crepes. Taught myself to make finally really good crispy fried chicken. And I've also been teaching myself to play ukulele. So those are some of my cooking and cultural pastimes that I've been, things that I didn't do before that I've been doing in COVID. And then, Allan, you mentioned my book. I've been working on and off on a series of memoirs and essays since 2017. And so I took the time while we were really in lockdown here to revisit that and start kind of picking at that book and writing more in earnest. So it's called Food Blogger Confidential, which is kind of a nod to Anthony Bourdain's Kitchen Confidential. And Anthony Bourdain is mentioned in the book because I had some interaction with him in 2014. And it's the subtitle is Under the Sink with the Purveyors of Nom, as in that's so nomsy, which is one of my least favorite terms in the foodie world. And it really started out to be me kind of venting, I guess, a little about the food blogger and the influencer generation, some of the staged things that people do, or a lot of the pay for play coverage that people give for a free restaurant meal. It was really a way for me to kind of rant because my wife Ursula doesn't let me rant online. She helps me the Gringo brand, and I'm known as a nice guy. So I thought, go ahead and kind of flow all of these, these kind of long-winded rants into a book. Found out that I really don't have too much to rant about. So there are some rants in there, but I also write about some of the experiences I've had as a food blogger, including getting lost in 3,000 acres of grapevines at El Cheto in the Valle de Guadalupe, which was an interesting experience when I was out taking photographs of Chef Miguel Angel Guerrero as he was hunting in the back vineyards and arroyos behind El Cheto. I kind of got lost back there on my own. I write about what it's like to be a food blogger with a very rambunctious toddler, now preteen son in tow. It's always been interesting. Shout out to Wolfgang if you're still watching, buddy. That's all about him. And then the time I almost killed Latin America's top chef. And then also the interaction I had with Bourdain in 2014 based on the Mexico City episode he did of Parts Unknown. I had a little problem with some of the editorial in that. I wrote the man an open letter on my blog. About 5 hours later, he responded. And that's really when my blog took off, because a lot of chefs around Mexico shared my story in our exchange. And it went viral. And I was handling comments to that piece after Bourdain commented for about 4 days straight.
Oh my!
Yeah.
This is something I didn't know. I did not know this. You're gonna have to send me the link to that.
I will.
Yeah, and I'll post that link in the YouTube description right below for those people that are watching the replay. So check that out. So and I do want to put one more shout out that if you are watching this on the replay, hit that subscribe button, and also hit the subscribe button. You'll see down below for a Gringo in Mexico's YouTube channel as well. We especially in these times where we're not being able to travel, having our audiences grow is real important. We depend on this. We content creators, I guess, as the term goes, and the influencers. So that's super important. So when will we see Blogger Confidential? I know this is, we are breaking news right here. This is breaking news here on the Journeys Webcast.
Social media. Just a few people know I've been working on it. It really depends, Allan, because I'm torn right now. It's kind of a hodgepodge. So it's rant, food review, experience as a food blogger, and it's kind of all jumbled together. And I don't know if that's the format or if I want to try to kind of streamline it a little bit and have more of a cohesive commentary throughout the book. But if all goes well, my friend Nicholas Gilman, who's a big food writer in Mexico City and my mentor, he's doing some editing for me. I'll probably self-publish it. I would anticipate maybe before the end of the year or around the beginning of next year.
Hey, here's a tip, and for those who are watching this may want to know, there is a good friend of mine who's a great writer, has published, 10 or dozen books, all travel related. Carla King. She is the founder of the Self-Publishing Boot Camp as well. But she has a Facebook group, a private Facebook group called the Travel Writers Virtual Workshop. And she started this under lockdown, and travel writers from all over the world are a part of this group. And every Friday she does a Zoom call, and people post sections of articles or books or things that they're writing, and they workshop it live on the Zoom call. You should try that. And
I should.
Yeah, I'll send that link to you as well, and you could join that. I'll put that link down for the aspiring travel writers tuning in as well. That'll be really, really awesome. Well, I've refilled my glass at least 2 times here. I don't know, how are you doing?
You and me both, buddy.
Okay. Hey, any last words of wisdom for travelers, tips for Baja, for how to survive wanderlust in a lockdown situation when the border is closed to you? Give us a little bit of Gringo in Mexico, Scott Koenig wisdom.
Right. Well, there are people going to Baja and other parts of Mexico. I see my friends' Facebook pages, and I've got a friend who was in Oaxaca, another friend who was in Michoacan. Lots of friends are starting to go back to the Valle again. So you can go down. There are border restrictions for essential travel only, but I don't think they're really monitoring that too closely coming in to Mexico from the United States. So you can get down there. If you do, wear a mask, practice social distancing. Most of the restaurants down there are very much on top of their COVID things that they're doing. They're taking temperatures. They've got a little box with disinfectant you step into so that your feet are clean. They're really following the protocols in a lot of ways better than the restaurants here in the States. So you can go, but if you do go, be respectful, be cautious, make sure that you're COVID free, get tested before you go, because the last thing I would want to do is be a carrier who doesn't realize he has COVID and go to a small community like the Valle de Guadalupe and infect those people down there who are working really hard, especially during COVID, to make ends meet. As far as Mexico is concerned, there's still a lot of misconceptions that if you do travel to Mexico, you're going to get your head cut off, or you're going to get, carjacked or robbed or whatever. And of course, that happens just like it happens anywhere. I was robbed once in my hometown of Dayton, Ohio, at gunpoint. That was not fun. But I've spent thousands of hours in Mexico, and I've never had a problem, my family or I. Go. If you've wanted to go, but you've been concerned, go. And if you want to go local to check out Ensenada or tacos in Tijuana or the Valle de Guadalupe, you can follow my Facebook page, which is Escape to Baja, or the website Escape to Baja, which is my tour website and tour page where we do give tours. And we'll start ramping those up. My partners down in Tijuana, Fernando and Paco, are already going to start taking people on tours. I won't be going back again, but that's 3 Amigos Taco Tours, which you can also find on escapetobaja.com. Don't be afraid. The food's terrific. The culture is amazing. Mexico has a rich history. The people are friendly. There's nothing better than Mexican hospitality. It's the only place I've ever gone in the world where when you leave a restaurant, the chef or the owner or the waiter or the host will tell you, this is your home. Come back anytime. And you know that they mean it. They're not just blowing sunshine, as it were. So Mexico is one of my favorite places. I've based an 8-year career/lifestyle on it. We can't get enough. We miss it. Saludos to all my friends down there. We hope to see you soon. And again, if you're thinking of going to Mexico but have reservations, you can also message me or check out my website or Facebook page for more accurate information on what's really happening down there.
Well, amen to that. I'm going to put up that link once more time to a Gringo in Mexico in the sidebar there. And I'm going to go ahead and just and pop in here like this and say, I really, these things, it's hard to keep them to an hour. And I appreciate those of you who've stayed with us. Angie Brenner, I think, just took off, a fellow San Diego travel writer and author. Thank you for tuning in. Everybody who's stuck around this long, and those of you who left a little early, I know you have other things to do, but the replay always is going to be available on YouTube. I want to thank you. I want to thank W. Scott Koenig. And one of the things I've always wanted to ask, and I've never done it, but I think I know the answer. Let's just bring this back up. The W. What's up with the W? What is the W?
It's William. My first name is actually William.
Is William.
There's a tradition in the German side of my family, which is my father's side, going back into, I want to say, like the early 1800s. The firstborn of the family is always William something Koenig, and every other generation goes by their middle name. Don't ask why. So my father was William Edward. He was Bill. His father was William John. He was John. My son is William Wolfgang. He's Wolfgang. So we're continuing the tradition.
You're continuing the tradition. Okay, see, we're breaking some news here. I don't know whether or not that you've shared that on your blog or anything, but it just popped into my brain right then. I gotta thank Scott Koenig for all he's done for Mexico and for bringing awareness to Baja, helping the aspiring chefs like Estrella. What's her name? Okay. Yeah. For really helping a culture of beauty, of people that are so warm, and when they say mi casa y su casa, as Scott just explained, it's your house, their house, and always open and warm arms. So I have had such a great time. We've learned a lot. I'm just going to play this quick little short kind of ending video, and I'll see Scott, you on the other side, and we'll say goodbye.
All right, brother.
Thank you for tuning in to the JOURNEYS Webcast. I'm Allan Karl, your host. Be sure to tune us in every Monday. The time changes depending on where we are in the world. This is Allan Karl, and where will your next journey take you? Scott, this has been great. Thank you, man. I love you, and we'll have to do this again.
Yeah, and once that vertigo clears up and the scourge has lessened, let's get together for a meal, man.
Yeah, we got to do it. We had last time. I remember we were down at Herb and Wood down there in San Diego on a little bit of a progressive as well. So we'll do that again.
All right, man.
All right. Take care. Thank you, everybody. This is Allan Karl, your host. Please tune in next Monday. Cheers.
Thanks, everyone.